The international community failed to credibly use sanctions as a deterrent to violence, and the use of strategic election violence, often along ethnic lines, not only undermined the credibility of the 2023 elections, but will cast a long shadow over future electoral contests.
Good day, all of you viewers. Welcome to another episode of What is Trending. My name is Angelo, your anchor. I have something quite different from the ordinary, but this might really spark up reactions among some social media users and Nigerians alike, because this particular update I have for you is one that is going to speak and topple evidences in court when the proper hearing starts. Another foreign group, having witnessed the just concluded general elections in Nigeria that happened almost a month and a half ago, have come out under a platform of the international observers. They have decided to come up with evidences and lots of evidences to present when needed. Okay, now this particular international group said in their speech that they witnessed a whole lot of political antics, tricks, political irregularities, voting irregularities, and political brutality, and so on. And I would not stop talking because I can talk on and on as regards to what this particular group said. So, in the wake of that, this international group have vowed to expose all the antics and tricks that were involved or that played out during the just concluded elections, both before and after. Okay, and having really sworn to take the case further, they haven't really backed down, and this international body are planning on something that Nigerians don't really have a grip on. We don't know what that is, but with this much evidence they have, I think they are planning to see the tribunal. And if they appear in court, wow, I would say a good bye-bye to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinibu. Hear this yourself.
Violence in the 2022 Electoral Act went largely unenforced. The international community failed to credibly use sanctions as a deterrent to violence, and the use of strategic election violence, often along ethnic lines, not only undermined the credibility of the 2023 elections, but will cast a long shadow over future electoral contests. These risks were understood in the lead-up to elections, and there were many efforts to mitigate this violence. It is now incumbent on us to reflect on what lessons we have learned. Our program that we deployed in 6 states in partnership with KDI provides some useful insights. We deployed long-term monitors to every LGA in 6 states, 1 state in each region, to provide weekly reports on the electoral context, including election violence and contributing factors. This data was then used to shape activities and interventions of local CSOs and security forces who we felt were best positioned to intervene with key stakeholders in the lead-up to elections. In the spirit of learning, I will briefly note a few things that this program and this data gathered has taught us about election violence that will be explored in more depth later. First, we found convincing evidence that LGAs with larger security force presence tended to have significantly less violence. While perhaps logical, it confirms that security forces play a positive mitigating role and underscores the importance of prioritizing where and how many security forces are deployed. Second, on the issue of vote buying, we had hoped to see that more education on vote buying would reduce reports of vote buying. However, the data we gathered shows no apparent relationship, suggesting that education alone is insufficient to change the incentives that drive vote buying. Third, when we analyzed factors that appeared in LGAs which were at first peaceful but later became violent, we identified some significant early warning indicators. These factors included inadequate security force presence, recruiting of political thugs, and government restrictions on campaigning. These factors underscore the importance of understanding the broader context and the importance of addressing these issues well in advance of elections. As we look back at our efforts and the violence that has occurred for our program, it is a mixed picture. Unfortunately, election violence increased in almost all the states in Nigeria when we compare the last few months of 2022 with the first few months of 2023. On average, election violence increased by about 13% in each state. For our 6 states of focus, election violence also increased, but only by about 8.5%. We would like to think that this at least was in part driven by our interventions. Kaduna in particular is a state that many feared would experience significant election violence, yet defied expectations and saw no significant increase from 2022 to 2023. In conclusion, we need to be more honest about assessing our efforts to mitigate election violence. We need to seriously address issues of impunity for election violence and for election malfeasance, which creates the conditions for election violence. There also must be accountability, especially for leaders and officials of major political parties who too often get away with using violence and underhanded tactics to gain electoral advantage. When we seek to prevent election violence, we cannot fall back on the things we are familiar with, like national peace pledges and voter education. These efforts alone are insufficient to reduce election violence. We have to move beyond compartmentalization of information among implementers, NGOs, and security services, and ensure that information is shared broadly and shared early. Lastly, information must drive action, whether it is the deployment of security forces, undue government restrictions on campaigns, or orchestrated malfeasance by political parties. Early warning is of no use if it does not drive early action. Thank you.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is still Nation's Voice Tower. I will urge our viewers and our incoming subscribers to please don't forget to tap the notification bell so you could get a notification anytime we drop one. And for incoming subscribers, subscribe to this channel because that's the channel who gives you political updates back to back. Then don't forget to watch till the end. Make our videos go viral by sharing to people around you and outside Nigeria. Yes, that is that. And our next update is so intriguing, but I'll give you my take on the past video before we go on the next update. My take is this: evidences would always come up for crimes that have been committed. Yes, and if a crime is really committed, there will be much evidences, even though you wouldn't know who to catch or who to get to lay your hands on these evidences. But humans will always catch up with humans. That is what the world is. So if the evidences are coming out now, it is not late, neither is it too early. So we urge this international body to make their way to the Court of Appeal the next time the tribunal will be sitting for the Presidential Elections Petitions Tribunal. That is that. Then the APC National Working Committee for some time now have been experiencing loggerheads if you've been following the trend of events, because the choice of the presidency of the National Assembly and his vice, and also the quick choice for the presidency of the Senate and its deputy has been on the block. And this particular time it is laid on the shoulders of the APC National Working Committee to really zone it as it is in conformation with their own constitution, according to the party's constitution. So for some time now, the APC, the internal structure, has been experiencing lots of loggerheads as regards to the choice of candidates for these particular positions. That is no longer news. Now, I wanted to see into the main issue pertaining to the APC's National Working Committee and what the main problem is. Why are the senators from the north central part of the country agitating so hard? Let me explain this briefly before we watch a video, very important video. Now, this working committee have decided since on Monday, that's no longer news, but let me brief you on that a little bit, have decided since on Monday to zone the Senate presidency of the incoming 10th Assembly. Okay, don't forget Asiwaju is part of the National Working Committee. Okay, so it is Asiwaju who even has more say when it comes to fishing out a candidate. If you remember, Governor David Umahi said Asiwaju told him to step down for Akpabio. That is that. Now, they've decided to zone the presidency, first of all, the Speaker of the House of Reps to the northwest, the Senate presidency to the south, And then also the Deputy Senate Presidency, the APC National Working Committee have decided to zone it to the northwest too, and then the Deputy Speaker of the House of Reps to the southeast. This hasn't gone down well with the senators and with the members of the National Assembly that come from the North Central, because they feel they've worked for this party over time and they've put in more efforts to represent the party in all their doings and political activities. So they feel they should be a sort of rewarded with a seat in the National Assembly, an honorable seat or a majority seat at the National Assembly. Let me allow you to listen to one of the senators from the south, from the North Central, and listen to what he has to say. He's quite agitated. Yes, I can say he's quite very, very angry. Listen to him.
We must do justice. What we are seeing today is new. There was no time in these 24 years of democracy where a political party, with the impunity of PDP in the previous days, there was no time they wrote a zoning and tied a name and sent it to the parliament. This is the first time we see this. We need to come and challenge it. If we follow it now, it means we are inconsistent of what we are doing before. We are with Asiwaju when we fight Obasanjo. We are with Asiwaju when we fight Jonathan. We formed APC. What is the difference between what APC is doing now and what PDP? The impunity, I can say it is impunity plus. Therefore, it's not all about Barrow. It is not about individual. It is about who? It is about Nigeria and the constitution of Nigeria and our coexistence. When we spend 12 years fighting PDP, most of those who are in APC now are opposing us. To the extent they are inviting police to tear gas us and to beat us. But because we believe that we are doing it for the good of our people, we continue doing it. Now they are enjoying it. I think we just fight. What will happen? Now, I am not against Barrow. I am not against anybody. And I am not saying anybody is not qualified. What I am saying is the process. The National Assembly is part of our blood. We can die because of the National Assembly, because it's the only symbol of the unity of Nigeria. If for any reason there is problem in Nigeria, we don't know where we are heading to. See what is going on in Sudan. See, even their own neighbors, Southern Sudan, yesterday, over 2.5 people trooped to Sudan. Where are we heading to? We Nigerians. It is our own country. We can't allow the impunity to continue in democracy. We are Democrats. We are born to fight for the right of the people.
Okay, distinguished. Is this the position of the NNPP?
It is a position of democratic, pro-democracy, democratic people of our National Assembly. I am speaking on behalf of so many members. Watch the debate in Nigeria today. It shows you that it is neither NNPP, APC, it is across the board. Most of the people agree that Nigeria and National Assembly is the union. We must maintain its unity. My only worry, my heart is bleeding. Where are those people who drag our Baba? Asiwaju, the one who fought for this democracy, to the extent he leaves this country for the fight of democracy to allow that thing to happen. Under his own watch. Baba, now, our younger generation, and of course, we, your children, we start witnessing the sign of inconsistency from you. We are doing your bid. Your bid is to have a prosperous Nigeria, a united Nigeria, a democratic Nigeria, where everybody will say Alhamdulillah.
Okay, welcome back. If you're just joining us, thanks for always staying with us and keeping faith in us. For that video you watched, I would like to give a brief analysis on it. And the truth remains that, yes, it's no longer news that this particular seats of the National Assembly have been zoned and that of the Senate. But the senators from the North Central are not happy with this. Well, if you ask me, I will say the APC and its National Working Committee are trying to be just, are trying to play a sort of equity and justice form of politics here. Because if you take it, there is already a Muslim ticket at the top, talking about Asiwaju and Senator Shetima, and then coming again to zone out the presidency of the Senate to the North Central, or if any of the main majority seats to the North Central will be a form of bias. That is my own take. So I feel the APC and its National Working Committee are trying to compensate the regions that have felt neglected over time. So this particular move from them should be a sort of a succor to those regions that have experienced a sort of negligence over time. Finally, on the issue of factionalism in the Labour Party, one of the members of the Presidential Campaign Council for the Labour Party, Barrister Kenneth Okonkwo, has come out to tell us outrightly that in fact there is no factionalism in the Labour Party, because he doesn't regard Lamidi Bashiru Akpapa and then Anselm Eragbe and then the National Publicity Secretary talking about Abayomi Arabambi. He doesn't regard these people as politicians. He regards them as intruders. He regards them as saboteurs. He regards them as coup plotters. So let me allow you watch Kenneth Okonkwo, where he was breaking down the issues pertaining to the Labour Party and the just concluded case that took place in the Court of Appeal last week, and then the just concluded case too that took place at the Supreme Court yesterday, where Lamidi Bashiru Akpapa was affirmed by a High Court or a Supreme Court as the legitimate chairman of the Labour Party. Watch this.
There is no faction in Labour Party. By the law, by our constitution, because our constitution is very clear. You cannot stand up and start parading yourself as a national officer. There are processes by which a national officer evolves. The first, you must be elected by the National Convention. And I'm talking about Article 13, 1BIV. You can check it in the Labour Constitution. And then, even if there is a sudden vacancy in the party, it is still the National Executive Council that will replace the vacancy. And I'm talking about Article 13, 2BXVI. You can check it in the Labour Constitution. So somebody cannot just walk from anywhere and start telling you he's the national chairman of the Labour Party, and then you start ascribing that it's the faction. You're free to say anything. So please, we just have the legitimate party officers that are meeting in the National Party House. Now, these are the different leanings of Labour Party. You have the TUC, you have the NLC, then you have the National Working Committee, then you have the National Convention. Please, the people you call faction, which of this leaning is backing them up? You know, when they came in here to break into this office, and what they did was illegal. They said there was a purported ex parte order. Excuse me, and I talk as a lawyer. If a judge or a court gives an order, you as a human being do not have the right to enforce it. You cannot take the laws into your hands. Everybody is expected to obey the order of a court. If the people that are concerned do not obey the order, you go back to court for courts to enforce their order. If you go and break in yourself, taking the laws into your hand, you are a criminal that has committed a criminal.
Those updates are done and dusted. I hope you've really enjoyed our time together, because I tell you what, I will always bring you more updates, more than you can imagine. My take on that video is quite short and simple. Lamidi Bashiru Akpapa and his cohorts, or his factionally led executives, are on a wild goose chase. I always tell you this because people are saying, or there are reactions sparking up online and offline, that in the next court session, Bashiru Akpapa will sit with Peter Obi on the same seat, representing the legitimate chairman of the Labour Party. But I tell you what, I don't see that happening, because Julius Abure would always be the legitimate chairman of the Labour Party. Let me shock you. An update coming to our table a few minutes ago is telling us that the Independent National Electoral Commission have refused to publish the gubernatorial candidates of the few states that are remaining. Talking about states like Rivers State. Yes, there were no elections in Rivers State, gubernatorial elections to be precise. States like Imo State, and so on and so forth. So, only names that were produced by Julius Abure or by the Julius Abure-led faction were received by INEC. That is to tell you that there is still legitimacy surrounding the Julius Abure-led faction. Thanks for joining us. See you in my next video. Bye.